Hey there, and welcome back to Wellness Unfiltered with Dr. Quinnett. I'm Dr. Quinnett Swink, therapist and women's nutrition coach, and I'm so glad you're here. This is week 6 of the Summer Wellness Reset, the final episode of the series, not the final episode of my podcast, but just this series. And before we get into today's topic, I just want to say if you have been listening to this series, thank you, really. Like the fact that you kept showing up week after week, that means something. It means that you are someone who is trying to care for yourself differently. You are someone who is ready for something different. And today, I want to give you something that goes deeper than anything that we've covered so far. Because here's what I have come to believe and to know after working with women for so many years. And it's this. Most women don't just want a better routine. They don't just want to know, okay, how much protein should I eat? What should my workouts be? How can I set better boundaries? How do I get better sleep? No, those things matter. Yes, and we've talked about all of them, but underneath all of it, so many women are really asking a deeper question. And it's this, who am I now? Who am I in this season of my life and who am I becoming? Or how do I become the version of myself that I desire? And that's what we're going to talk about today. So, first of all, you are not the same woman you were 5 years ago. Heck, I'm not the same woman I was 5 years ago. I'm not even the same woman I was a year ago, right? But sometimes we suffer because we are still trying to live from an old identity that no longer fits. And then we wonder, why do we feel so disconnected from ourselves? And so maybe the problem, and then we start feeling like, oh, I'm failing, right? But maybe it's not that. You're not failing. The problem is that you were trying to live in an old version of you that is no longer the version that is meant for you to build on from there. That is not failure. That means that the season of life that you're in is asking you to make some updates in the way that you show up for yourself. And there is usually this moment, or for me, a series of moments where you realize that the old way is not working anymore. Okay. Maybe like you used to pour into everyone else before yourself, and you would tell yourself that you're fine. But now you feel resentful. You're tired. You feel like nobody sees you, nobody hears you. You're just moving through the motions, you're doing all the things, you're checking the boxes, and along the way, you got disconnected from yourself. And so the question is not, how do I get back to who I was? Although I know that's the question that we often will ask ourselves first, but that's not the question. The question that I want you to be asking yourself is, what does this version of me need? What does this season actually require? What does my body need? What does my mind need? What do I need to actually feel like I am being cared for and taking care of myself in a way that fits me? And when we talk about identity, and that's the topic for today, right? Identity is not something that you just think, it is something that you practice. It is really built through these small, everyday habits. It's built through promises that we keep with ourselves. I talked about this a few episodes back, but it's this idea of like building trust. And along the way, we stopped trusting ourselves, right? So identity is created when we are practicing and giving ourselves these small ways of showing up in a way that we are fueling our bodies properly, we're resting properly, we are not allowing ourselves to just abandon ourselves. Okay. And that is why all of the habits that we've talked about in this series, they matter, not because habits make us worthy. You're already worthy, but because the habits, they become the evidence that we need to continue to show up for ourselves. And I think for so many of us, so many women, we are waiting for this perfect version of our lives to show up. We may not say that we're waiting for perfection, but we are. And we're waiting for that. We're waiting for things to be perfect before we can show up for ourselves and start living in a way that really is prioritizing our needs. And so we will tell ourselves, oh, I'm going to prioritize myself when life slows down. I'm going to rest when everything's done, I'll feel like myself again when everything is going the way that I thought it would. And the truth is, if you keep waiting for perfection, you are going to continue to abandon the woman who needs you right now. She needs you now, not when life is less stressful, not when things are calmer, not when everyone else is asleep. No, right now. So the question to start asking yourself is, how would a woman who values herself, how would she move through the day? Not with perfection, just differently. So looking at it from this lens through nutrition, would she eat breakfast instead of just focusing on drinking coffee? So that's making space and time for herself first thing in the morning. Would she go to bed at differently, instead of scrolling? Is she asking for help? Is she saying no when she knows her body needs rest? That is how identity shifts. It's one question, one choice, and one small act of choosing you first. And that's what this whole series was about. And as we really close out the series, I want you to think about something. Even if you haven't listened to the previous episodes in the series, go back and listen to them. But here's the thing, every pillar that we talked about over the last 6 weeks was always about the same thing. And it's this, getting curious about what you need in this season of your life and beyond, and creating habits that are going to fit your real life. It was never just about the food or the workouts or the sleep. It was always about who is underneath and what does that version of you need. The version of you who's been carrying so much for so long, and the one who really forgot what it means to show up for herself first. The one who is tired of surviving and ready to actually live and just thrive in this season of her life and every season beyond. That is what this series was all about. And that is what this podcast is about. And something that I want you to just know as we close out this series is I am very passionate about the connection between our nutrition and strength and mental health, especially for women in perimenopause and beyond, because the connection has to be made. Because how you eat and how you move, it is not just about how you look, but that is the message that we have been fed for years, for decades. Nutrition, it directly affects how you feel mentally and emotionally, your mood, your anxiety, your energy, your whole sense of self. But we have to look at it from a long game strategy, not a quick fix. And if I'm being real with you, I was looking at it as let me do this 4-week shred, right? That sounds great. Not and thinking that, okay, once I've hit that goal, everything else is going to come into alignment for me. But the reality is, no. Yes, you might hit your goals in 4 weeks, but what does that look like on the other side? What does that look like in the long term? So creating an approach that is real and that supports your whole life, your whole self, that focuses on how do you build and maintain muscle in your 30s, 40s, and beyond? How do you stabilize your blood sugar? How do you support your hormones differently? All of that will impact how you feel from the inside out. And that's the work I do with my clients. And that is the work that I would love to do with you. Okay. So if you have been listening to this series and thinking, wow, this all sounds great. And yeah, I can do some of it on my own, but I would love some help. I would love to support you. It's not just about looking at the habits, it really is looking at the whole picture, the connection between all of it, the nutrition, the strength, the sleeping, your stress, relationships, identity, all of it fits together so nicely. And that is truly how you meet your goals and you maintain your goals. So if you want support, I would love to support you. You can reach out to me at swankwellness.com and book a consult. And here is something that I want to leave you with. Okay. So as we wrap up, here is your identity reset for this week. 3 things that I want you to focus on. First, I want you to ask yourself this question. Who was I before I started putting myself last? This is not meant for you to live in the past, but just to remember what you already know about yourself. The second thing I want you to do is choose one identity statement that feels like a remembering, not just an aspiration. So maybe your statement is, I am a woman who is returning, who keeps returning. I don't allow myself to just say, screw it. Nope, I'm going to return. Is your statement, I am a woman who listens to her body? Because maybe you did. Maybe you used to listen to your body and somewhere along the line you stopped. Or maybe your statement is, I'm a woman who is allowed to have needs. Choose one that feels like you. And then the last thing I want you to do is I want you to pick one action this week that's connected to that statement. One small choice that gives you the evidence that, yes, you are choosing you. Because here's what I want you to carry with you from this moment on. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not starting over for nothing. You are just someone who is learning how to come back to herself. And you didn't disappear, even though it feels like that. You just stopped putting yourself first. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. And if you have been with me since the beginning, thank you for spending time with me every single week. And I truly hope that you enjoyed this journey as we went through this summer wellness reset. And if you enjoyed this series, share it with a friend. Okay. If you're not following the show, please follow the show. Leave a review. Take a minute to leave a review if you have not already, because it really does help more women to find this podcast, and continue to share it. That's how we're going to grow this community. And I want a strong community of women. And if we are not connected on Instagram, find me on Instagram at Swank Wellness and let me know, what did you think of this series? Did you like this? What landed for you? I read every message and I want to hear from you. So reach out. And before we go, remember, all the information that I share on this podcast is for educational purposes only. Take what fits and leave what doesn't. But if anything, take this. Remember this, your body is not working against you, it's communicating with you. So continue to be curious and keep showing up for yourself. I will see you next week in the next episode of Wellness Unfiltered with Dr. Quinnett. Until next time, take care.